Good morning, students. I am Dr. K. Pushpam, Assistant Professor in Sociology. Okay, today we are discussing about child labor and child labor problem and what are the causes will be influenced by the child labor and what are the preventive measures we are getting. So those things will be discussing now. So what is child labor? Child labor is generally speaking work for children that harms them or exploits them in some way, physically, mentally, morally, or by blocking access to educations. So any children are involved in the working conditions below the years 18 years, that children called as child labor. So that children education also blocking through the mental and moral or physical issues. So it is the work that exceeds a minimum number of hours depending on the age of child and on the type of work. The next one is causes of child labor. The causes of child labor involved in many causes. What are they? Over explosion of populations. So the overall explosion of populations will be increased in the child labor because due to the scarcity of resources, the children also involving the working conditions. Next one is a decrease of resources. So the over explosion of population and decreasing of resources will be interrelated because the both conditions are getting the scarcity of resources or less availability of the resources. That time we are seeking our needs and fulfilling their needs. That time we are involving in the working conditions. That conditions will be lead to child labor. Then next one is decrease in literacy, increase of poverty, increase of unemployment, lacking of school and daily care, limited choices for women. So these are the causes influenced for the child labor. And what are the effect will be given the child labor? Child labor deprives of child proper childhood. So any children going to job during the childhood period, the children getting more deprivation from the childhood period because the children don't get any proper health or support from the childhood period. So the child labor deprives a child of a proper childhood. Next one is suffer physical and mental torture. So the children, those who are involved in the child labor, that persons, that children will be affecting physically and mentally because they are children continuously getting the torture related to their work and the restless working. That conditions lead to physical and mental torture. Child labor creates and perpetuates poverty. Then child labor deprives them for their future. Child labor effect on the child health. They could be abused by managers or factory owners. Yes, the children was misused by the or abusing by the factory owners or managers. Then child labor effect on education. Child labor directly affects the future of the country. Yes, every children has go to the working conditions. That time the children education conditions or good youth people will be affected by our society. That time the child labor directly affects the future of the country. The next one is child labor in India. Official figures indicate that there are over 12 million child workers in India, but many NGOs on the real figures is up to 60 million. The number of girls involved is not much lower than boys. The largest number work in textile factories, dhabas, roadside restaurants, and hotels are as domestic workers. Much of the work, such as in firecrackers or matchstick factories, can be hazardous, even if not conditions are often appalling and simply rob it of their childhood. So that persons will be get a more torture from the above said list of companies or above factories. So because that children was mostly affected these kind of background industries, because they are getting exploitations from the working nature or abusing the managers or other workers, all the things will be occurrence in the working place. The next one is, by a law introduced in 2006, child under 14 should not work. But like many laws in India, the problem is enforcement. 2 years after the ban, the labor ministry had carried out 12,000 operations but only made 211 prosecutions. The next one is how to we are prevent the child labor. The first solutions will be given. Awareness must be raised and parents should be attention to the educations of their children. If any hurdles faced in the family, that parents only concentrate on the education of the children. That is the only way for we are preventing the child labor. People should be made aware of their children's right to get free education from the state. Yes, definitely the people must be known the a free education scheme that will be helpful for all the children obtaining the education. Child labor law should be strictly put into practice. So we have many child labor prohibition act. That act should be strictly and put into practice. That comes to in the practical, then only we are avoiding the child labor. Stop hiring children below the minimum age. These kind of activities should be reduced. Stop hiring children below the minimum age. The next final one, Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986. According to this act, we are preventing the child labor. We are not allowed any kind of child labor or a child workers in this country. So these are the solutions for preventing or prohibition of the child labor. Thank you.